Hello, Missio. Hope you all are doing well. Got my buddy here, Mr. Nathan Sayer, with Child Evangelism Fellowship. When we were thinking about the process of moving over here, and one of the things that came up, we're thinking about different places around this building, and one of those is Southside Elementary School. And I think it was back in January that you and I were talking at Trail Life, and both of our sons are involved in that. And he talked about the need for Trail Life, or for Child Evangelism Fellowship for the Good News Club at Southside Elementary, that another church had been there but had been unable to do it any longer. And so that perked my interest up because when we were over at Pullman, back in the early days of our church, we had a ministry over there at Southside Elementary. And so we kept thinking about, as we move over here, what does it look like to really engage the neighborhoods, the people that God has put around us. And so talked with the elders, and we thought we would give you all an opportunity to hear about Child Evangelism Fellowship from Nathan. And then he is going to be preaching here soon, within the next few weeks. And then after that preaching time on a Sunday morning, he's going to stick around, he and his family, and we're going to have a Q&A about any questions that you all may have for a Good News Club at Southside Elementary. So Nathan, thanks for being here, and
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
appreciate
talking
it,
to our folks.
Absolutely.
So, Child Evangelism Fellowship, you've been the director now for 13 years,
yep.
I think you said.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about Child Evangelism Fellowship. What is it?
Sure. CEF was started in 1937, so it's nothing new. We're also a global international organization, over 200 countries around the world. Last year alone reached nearly 20 million kids with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Holy smokes,
We're the world's largest children's ministries organization, specifically geared to reach kids. And the purpose of CEF from the beginning has been threefold: to evangelize kids with the gospel of Jesus Christ, to see believing kids discipled through the Word of God, and to see unchurched kids connected to a local Bible-believing church. CEF doesn't ever, claim or, our goal absolutely 100% is not to be the local church. Yeah. We are an organization from the beginning that has worked with the local church to help reach kids in their community, and through our different ministries and opportunities that we have to connect the local church to unreached, unsaved kids and their families.
That's fabulous. Man, 200 million?
20 million. Almost 20 million kids.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
One of the ways that you all do that, we got to hang out this past week, and you all were doing VBSs with other churches. But one of the big ways that you all do this is through Good News Clubs in elementary schools. Yep. What's a Good News Club?
Yeah, so Good News Club is one of the ministries of CEF. We have a lot of different ministry opportunities that we do with churches, but the Good News Club by far, really from the beginning, is the biggest opportunity that we have, especially in our country. Good News Club essentially is a neighborhood outreach where church people find ways to host these locations, to where kids come to this location in an outreach setting where, basically the way I like to describe it, a Sunday school on steroids is taught. Basically, it's a stereotypical night at vacation Bible school.
Okay.
But before the 2000s, Good News Clubs primarily met in people's homes.
Okay.
But things changed and dynamics changed, family dynamics changed, split homes, parents working outside of homes, all those things. So CEF started trying to figure out where were the kids, because they're not in the neighborhood anymore. Mm-hmm. So we started going into public elementary schools. Well, with that, it's obviously always going to cause an uproar. Separation between church and state. You can't talk about the Bible, can't talk blah, blah, blah. Well, I know that you know this, but we serve a sovereign God. And he worked that to our advantage because there was a court case called the Milford Central Schools versus the Good News Club on June 11th, 2001 that worked its way up to the United States Supreme Court. And on June 11th, 2001, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of CEF and the Good News Club,
Wow.
saying if there was other types of extracurricular activities that meet on public school property, Good News Club has to be allowed equal access. So basically what it means is the Good News Club is the 100% legal way. When you go through CEF and it is an official Good News Club, it is the legal way for the local church to take the gospel of Jesus Christ into the public schools.
Wow, that's great. We've been going through Acts, and gosh, you talk about we've been looking at Acts 23 and 24 and how the Roman government has really been an instrument in the way that God has used to take Paul, to get him from Jerusalem to Caesarea and to Rome. So it's the Lord is sovereign.
He's in
and
control.
He is. So these Good News Clubs in schools, what does a typical meeting look like?
Yeah, so like I kind of said in the previous answer is that if you know what a vacation Bible school looks like on a nightly basis, that's basically what a Good News Club is. Good News Club meets one day a week for 90 minutes, approximately. I mean,
Okay.
give or take, but on average 90 minutes immediately after school. And basically it looks like a vacation Bible school night. You're going to have snacks and games. You're going to have music, prayer, memory verse, Bible lesson, missions emphasis, all of those things taking place right there in some location in the public school. So
Yeah.
that's, that 90 minutes goes by really, really quick. So basically it's about 30 minutes of games, snacks, and about an hour's worth of, Bible teaching.
That's wonderful. Now this doesn't happen just with staff. It takes probably resources.
Yep.
What type of resources are required in this?
So that's obviously a good question coming from a pastor and elder, always asking about budget. I mean, you got to ask that question. So it really, the good thing about the Good News Club is that it really is dependent on how much you want to put into it.
Yeah.
I always tell people that if you budget around $1,000 for a school year, you're going to have plenty of money. One of the common questions when it comes to budgeting and finances and resources that always comes up is, do you have to pay CEF something to be a part? You do not. There's not like a membership fee or anything for you to pay to CEF. We'll talk about it probably a little bit later, but the only thing that is required for the church to purchase from CEF is curriculum.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything else is really done on your end. Snacks, copies, promotional material, whatever.
Yeah.
That's really completely up to you all.
Okay. So there's those material resources, but then there's also manpower.
Yes.
What's it take to pull off a Good News Club with volunteers?
As many as humanly possible. So we like to say that we would like to have 8 to 10 committed people to make a good team. But again, that's just a suggestion. This is kind of more what would be applicable is because it is a Good News Club. And the way you need to look at this is when you're doing a Good News Club, you're not actually legally representing Missio Dei Church. You're actually a volunteer employee, if that's the way you want to look at it, with CEF. So because of that, CEF actually even covers the insurance for volunteers, the club itself, all of those liability issues, because it is a Good News Club. So because of that, legally speaking, we have to have a minimum of 2, obviously. But we have to have a 1 volunteer per 10 kids physically present in the club. So if you have 40 kids there on a weekly basis, you have to have a minimum of 4 people there to be covered by insurance purposes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And as you think about those 8 to 10, it can probably be kind of daunting to think about, well, shoot, if we don't get 10 people, then we can't do it.
Right.
But that's really this 8 to 10 folks is ideal because not everybody's going to be there.
That's correct.
Going to have a doctor's appointment here and there on those days, and so it kind of spreads the load
Yep.
over a larger group of people
Absolutely.
there. And so, what is required from someone to become a Good News volunteer?
Number one, and it may sound superficial to a degree. Maybe sounds like it, duh, but there needs to be some sort of a sense of calling. I mean, when I even answered there a minute ago, like the volunteers need to be committed to it. I
Yeah.
mean, and even the way I try to explain it to people is that this isn't just something nice and good that you do. Like this needs to be seen as like this is a part of the DNA of Missio Dei Church.
Yeah.
Like this is vital to our mission. This is vital to our purpose. This is our community. This is, if we want to reach these kids, if we want to reach these families, that this is a vital piece to that. So there has to be that sense of commitment, because if not, then when there is other things that come up that's a better offer, those volunteers go away.
Yeah.
So like this is something where they're like, I'm in on this. So with that being said, then what's required is every volunteer goes through a background check through our organization. And even if you have something, background check on file for a different reason, like through the church or through your job, it doesn't count because it's CEF's insurance that's online. So we run the background check on all the volunteers. And then also there is a 6-hour training seminar that we will come to your facility and I will conduct that myself and kind of run through what does a Good News Club look like, how to use the curriculum, and then even just some basic kids ministry teacher training techniques and methods to use too. Yeah.
So this has been, talking about the commitment piece to it, this has been one of the things that we wanted to hammer home, and as opposed to just starting it and saying, yeah, we're going to do it, and it be myself just showing up or me and you showing up at it. We really want this to be something that the Lord lays on the hearts of people within our church. And so for it to not just be something very exciting at first, and then it just kind of fizzles out once the excitement wears down. And so I appreciate you sharing that piece of that. I think it's a wonderful opportunity that we have here, assuming that the Lord raises up a team, and we're kind of use that as a way of like, okay, Lord, are you doing this? Then raise up a team for this. Let's say that we have a team. Let's assume the Lord answers that prayer and raises up a team for that. What's the time commitment? You said it's 90 minutes per week, but I imagine that there's maybe a little bit more that goes into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. And, the old saying stands true, you'll only get out of something what you put into it.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where with the program, with the curriculum, it really is user-friendly. So it's not like you have to think about that you're going to be required to spend hours upon hours of prep time each week. But it's like anything else. I mean, as a group, you should spend some time together in the week praying together. Individually, you should do that. If you're a Bible lesson teacher, you're going to want to put an hour or so into that preparation, studying the Bible yourself, letting the Lord teach you through what you're getting ready to teach with the kids, but then, getting your, visual aids ready, but it's one of those things too, where do all the volunteers spend, that time doing that? Probably not, across the board. But that's why things are set up the way it is, so that when things do, priority wise, other things happen and it kind of gets put on the back burner, you're able to take it. And if you have 20 to 30 minutes before, you can probably get ready to do it. But that's that the best case scenario? No. So it's kind of like each volunteer kind of has to decide what that looks like. But it's not going to be something that's going to be a full-time job. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
So,
You were talking about curriculum.
Yeah.
What about how's the curriculum work?
So again, if anybody is used to at all, like a boxed vacation Bible school
Yeah.
kit. I mean, that's basically what it is. I mean, everything comes together. You'll have all that you need. And that's Bible lesson material, memory verse material, missions material, song material. I mean, you have games, you have all of these types of things together. And Good News Club is set up to go for 24 weeks a school year. That's ideally what you would do. So 12 in the fall semester, 12 in the spring semester. So within that 24 weeks, the lesson series that we have are 6 week long. So you're going to have 4 6-week lesson series. And the curriculum is set up on a 4-year cycle because, statistics, we have found that on average, a student will stick with Good News Club for about 4 years.
Okay.
That's kind of the turnover that we
Gotcha.
see. So within that 4-year period, if a student sticks with Good News Club for the 4 years, then basically what the lesson series will do each year over the course of the 4 years is take them through the highlights of the entire Bible.
Okay.
It's not chronological, it's more like theme-based.
Sure.
So like 1 year, it might be like kind of the overarching thing would be God's sovereignty.
Okay.
1 year might be focused on his promises, or
Yeah.
whatever that's
Yeah.
kind of the idea. But it goes through the highlights of the entire Bible, and really with that kind of in mind, if a student sticks with Good News Club for those 4 years, they're going to get an overview of literally, creation to Genesis to Revelation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, it obviously, I'm assuming takes place after school.
Yes.
So at the earliest, what, 2:45?
Yeah, 2:30, 2:45.
Yeah.
Every school is a little bit
Yeah.
different, but
And does
yeah.
it meet on any particular day of the week?
No,
Or?
it does not matter to us. When things get ready to start, we will talk about as a team, like, what are kind of your preferences. But also what makes it really difficult is we want to be able to work with the school too.
Yeah.
So it's really not a good idea to say, well, we can only do it on a Tuesday. Or the church side of it, you want to have some flexibility, because what we have found twofold is you want to be able to go, when we go in and finally meet with the principal, and that might be something to say too, is that we get all of our ducks in a row on our end before we approach the school officially, because that way when we meet with the principal, we want to be able to say we're ready to start.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to go to the principal and say we want to do this, and they say okay, and then we're like, well, we're nowhere close to being ready to do that,
Gotcha.
because we don't know how long it'll take to get things ready. So we get all of everything in everything in line. Then we go to the principal and we meet with her. We'll say, we would prefer to meet on, say, Tuesday, but do you have a problem with that, or do you have a better suggestion? And a lot of times what we'll say is, what we've heard them say is that if we're flexible, they might say, well, Tuesday's fine, but Fridays we don't have any other after-school programs. So if you meet Friday, you probably going to have more kids, something like that.
Now, Southside in particular, how big have the previous Good News Clubs been?
Yeah, I think, and we had a Good News Club for several years there that met right up through until March of 2020.
Oh, okay.
So we've not met since the pandemic. And really what happened is the previous church and volunteers moved on to other things, essentially. So we've not resumed since the pandemic started. But when that was meeting, I think on a weekly basis, I think it was probably averaging around 50 kids probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what I tell people all the time. Like, I have no idea specifically. We talked a little bit about it, but I'm assuming you don't have 50 kids regularly on a Sunday morning here.
We do not.
Yeah.
No.
And that's the common thing. Like, what we have seen is, we do want to see kids plug into the church. We want to see their families plug into the church. But we will never get them plugged into the church if we don't fulfill the Great Commission and go to where they are. And a lot of times what we have seen is that for a lot of these kids, like, this is their exposure to the gospel.
Yeah.
the reason that you go is to give them an opportunity once a week to know Jesus. And most of the time, like these Good News Clubs, they will have more kids in them than you will even come close to on a Sunday morning. Like that will become a bigger children's ministries class than you have on a Sunday morning here, easily. So
I'm just thinking, is there an age minimum for a volunteer?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. 15.
15 years old.
Yeah,
Okay.
Volunteers have to be 15 years old.
So you parents out there, if your kids are 15 years or older and they're interested in volunteering, this is a great opportunity.
And I will
even after school.
Even with those kids, I mean, you were talking about Trail Life, but there's other organizations, even school stuff. If young people get involved and volunteer, I will be glad to give a letter of volunteer, community service hours and all that stuff. I do that all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there any stories that stick out to you from Good News Clubs in the past? And
So I've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a lot, but one that really sticks out because this is a local one at Height Saunders Elementary, which is over off of Route 10. There was a girl who made a decision for Christ at the Good News Club. I don't remember how old she was, but she made a decision to follow Jesus at the Good News Club. Come from a terrible home life. But the little girl did actually start coming to the church of the sponsoring church, and it's a little country church, way out, in the country, back behind Huntington, and she started coming, and she started asking for prayer for her dad, who was an alcoholic, and all this stuff. So they would do that in the Sunday school class and all these things. And one Sunday evening service, when they were meeting, in the middle of the service, the door in the church, back of the church, is busted open, and it was that dad. And he came forward. He smelled like alcohol. Came forward in the middle of service, and said, "I need Christ." And they said, "And what made you do that now?" And he said, "Because I'm drunk and I couldn't drive, and I've walked all the way out the hollow to get to church." And he said the reason why is because of the change I've seen in my daughter.
Oh, wow.
And he made a decision to follow Christ, and he was baptized the following week. And again, as the last time I actually asked about it, he and the little girl were still going to the church. Life change.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity. Again, we'll trust the Lord with this, but wanted to cast the net out there and to see if there might be some people who said, "Man, this has been something that I've been wanting to do, something along these lines." I know we have several retired teachers in our congregation, several stay-at-home moms, several dads that can be able to get off work at a particular times.
Do you have any senior saints?
We do have some senior saints.
All right, so I'll say something specifically to them. Obviously, you have time, they have time, the senior saints have time, and nowhere in Scripture does it say that there's a retirement age in the kingdom of God. And this is what I challenge you with every time I have the opportunity, is that there are a ton of kids right in Southside Elementary that do come from terrible home situations.
Yeah.
And they need Christian mamas and papas just to come love on them. Like if they are willing to go and sit with Johnny and Sally for 90 minutes one day a week and just pray with them, eat a bag of Cheez-Its with them, I mean, it's a huge, huge, huge blessing to those kids.
And I would imagine, too, that there's this aspect of this team that would go there and do the Good News Club, that you're probably going to have, just like any team, you're going to have a few leaders who are up front leading.
Yep.
But you're also going to need some folks who are just present.
Absolutely.
Sitting with the kids and might not say anything.
Absolutely.
Like you said, eating a bag of
You gotta
Cheez-Its with them
have
and-
snack servers. You've got to have people who can walk kids to and from the bathroom.
Yeah.
You gotta walk. You gotta have people who can sit with the kids that are talking to each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it takes all sorts of personalities
Absolutely.
to do this, and it's not relegated to any particular age. I'd say it is relegated to your availability for time.
Yeah.
So it is a sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Something else that you saw on the video that we did with Hope for Appalachia is the Hope closets, and we're hoping that at the very minimum that we would be able to do those where there's a closet, if you will, set up at the school, and Missio, we would supply the resources for it, whether it's toiletry kits, towels, clothes, shoes, whatever it may be. But that would be a beautiful handmaiden along with the Good News Club of just practically serving the needs of these students, but then with the Good News Club coming in and spiritually ministering to the needs of these students. So you're talking about the 90 minutes that it takes to do a Good News Club and how it needs to be a part of the DNA of the church. But really, the Good News Club it can be an avenue for ministry to their families. So it's not just a ministry to these individual kids at the church or at the school themselves. When a kid signs up, what do their parents do?
Yeah. So for a child to attend the Good News Club, a parent or legal guardian has to return a written registration form permission slip. And that's even one of the ways that insurance is able to cover everything, and that you're not being accused of, I didn't want my kid there and you forced him to be there. And like, you have written documentation that they have been given permission to attend.
Okay.
And on the permission slip, even, it's very clear, like, what the goal is. I mean, like, this is a Christian Bible-centered club where, Christ is going to be preached and, all of these types of things. So it's very, very transparent. But on that registration form, I mean, it has the children's names, their age, phone number, address, has the guardian's names, contact information. It has, food allergies and medical conditions, T-shirt sizes. I mean, like, it's got everything on it. So then basically, besides giving them the permission to attend, one of the reasons that it's set up that way is so that the church then has that given information for you to have to then be able to follow up with those families. I mean, the Good News Club is an avenue, and it's a great avenue, but 90 minutes one day a week is not going to get the job done in the big scheme of things. But what it does is it gives the local church the avenue to where, the elders of the church can take those permission slips and registration forms. They can call those families. You can send birthday cards to those kids to their home. You can send home invitations to Christmas programs and Easter egg hunts and trunk or treats and whatever. I mean, radically thinking, you could say, hey, would you be up for a visit? Can we come and sit down, talk with you, and find out, if there's any way that the church can help your family? And I mean, again, it's going beyond the four walls of the church, but it's going beyond the four walls of the school too. I mean, Missio Dei Church exists to reach this community. Yeah.
So the opportunities go beyond just that 90-minute time
way beyond.
Of being able to have information of parents' names and being able to contact them and to see how we can serve them. And so now you've just expanded. You need 8 to 10 volunteers for that 90 minutes a week. But there's a possibility that there's going to be more volunteers that'll be needed to follow up with these families, to serve them. I could see having a list of names of these kids and these parents that could be prayed for on a weekly basis.
Absolutely.
So when you think about reaching this area around 1101 12th Street, just this one opportunity blows it up to really have a massive, have names of people that are in this area to pray for.
That have given you permission to minister the gospel to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you were saying, this, to be able to go into this, we can't go in there right now and do this stuff, and but you all can, and that access is truly a gift from the Lord.
How I've explained it, just kind of how the Lord revealed it to me years ago, is with that Supreme Court case, I believe what God did was give the local church a holy loophole. Missio Dei Church doesn't have legal access to that school. But because Child Evangelism Fellowship is not a local church, and we're just a nonprofit organization like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, YMCA, whatever, they have to allow us because they allow those types of organizations. So what it allows the local church to do is use the legal system to our advantage, so that then volunteers from Missio Dei Church with Child Evangelism Fellowship can minister to the kids in their community in the local school.
That's great. Hope this has been helpful for you. Again, Nathan is going to be preaching here, Lord willing, in a few weeks in August sometime. And then after that Sunday, following the service, he's going to stick around and we're going to have a little Q&A. So if you're still on the fence, thinking, what about this? What about that? That'll be a great opportunity for you to come and ask him those questions, and we'll go from there. But be in prayer. If you're thinking, this is great, but it's not for me, pray. Pray that the Lord, if this is what the Lord wants as an outreach for our church to this community, pray that the Lord would raise up volunteers. And if it's not our church, pray that it would be some other church, or maybe it's some type of conglomeration. But pray that the Lord would raise up people to go, workers. The harvest is ripe.
Amen.
And to go and to work those fields.
Amen.
So again, if you have any questions between now and when Nathan comes, if you're thinking, I want to be on this, then come talk to me. Shoot me a text, shoot me an email, and would love to talk to you more about the possibility of getting this started. Hope you'll have a great day. And Nathan, thanks for taking time, and
thanks, man,
looking
for
forward to
having me.
hearing you
Thank you.
here in a few weeks. Have a great day.
Blessings.